roll. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to Men's Talk Show. We got our usual suspects, Wayne and Daron, and we're going to be talking about some organizations that are making some big moves in mental health lately, or at least ones that we've noticed and want to support. So before we get into that, I want to share a little story just about some successes in my journey over this past week. So Friday, I had a tire appointment to get my tire changed, but there was an issue with my paycheck. Wasn't able to get the tire changed. Fast forward to Monday morning, I'm on my way to work on Deerfoot, which is basically the highway, 110 kilometers. And just as I get onto Deerfoot, I start hearing a funny noise, and I'm like, "Uh-oh, what is this?" And the universe is telling me, like, "Chris, pull over. This is a serious one, man. Like, pull over now. Do it now." And I was like, "No, I can wait till work." And it was like, "Do it now." Like, okay, pull it over. So I pulled over, and I was off Deerfoot for maybe 5 minutes. I'm at one corner, and then I was on the road to my tire shop, and bam, tire blows up, explodes in grand fashion, sparks, rubber everywhere. And I just kept going to the tire shop, man. I pulled in there, tire flapping around. The two guys that worked at the shop were walking in like, holy hell, here we go. This is gonna be one of these mornings. And I just parked the car and laughed. It was like, holy, was that lucky? And they open up the shop, I go in and I order my tire. The girl at the desk says, "Man, you're handling this really well." And I said, "Well, gratitude pays better than anger." And she's like, "What does that mean?" I was like, "Well, considering the situation, I was on Deerfoot 5 minutes ago. I could easily be dead right now or could have killed another person. And I got a tire replaced and I'm safe. So I'm a happy man." And I took my walk back to home, my walking chain back to home. And by the time I got home, I was fine, man. No more anger, no more stress. And it was such a eye opener for the work that I've been doing lately and how differently I handled that situation than what I would have normally done. And it was really cool that girl to acknowledge that for me, because I think maybe that was what helped me think about it. So it was cool to have another person acknowledge that you know, on a typical day somebody would have been losing their shit, and I was just like, "Yes, ma'am, cool, give me the tire, see you later, have a good day." And she was like, "That was pleasant considering how that all started, man. All of us were betting on how angry you were going to be when you came in here."
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had that perspective because I mean that's what we talk about, looking at the things in the big picture. Because I mean, if you would have kept going, right, you could have been in an accident, worse, like you could have been seriously injured somebody else, crash your car on the highway, then you have to get a new car, right? Get a tire and maybe missing a day at work, but a whole new car. And that's a lot of money. So yeah, I'm really
Right.
glad that you had a different perspective to look at it that way. Because far too often it's easier just to go with the first instinct that we have, which is the anger, just be upset at everything and everybody for the rest of the day.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, why is this happening to me, and again, I went to that question, what can I learn from this situation? And that was what I thought about the whole walk home. What is the universe saving me from right now? What was destined to happen if I were to make it to work? What was destined to happen if I stayed on the road? You know, what am I avoiding right now by dealing with this little bit of difficulty? And I bet you on the other end that was so much worse. Like a severe car accident and a death. Right? Like, what if that was my last day on this earth? And I was too stubborn to listen to the fucking universe and not pull over when they told me to, right? Because I was angry or like, "Oh, I need that money and get to work."
Yeah,
Be
absolutely.
conscious, man. Be aware of what's going on around you. Those, like, it started as just a little rumble and then progressively got to a thud, and that thud was not normal. Right? And I know that because I drive in that car every day, and typical vibrations, typical noise, typical everything wasn't the same. What's going on here? And
Yeah,
then
And
bam.
it's funny is we talked about the same thing last week, right? Like the last episode we talked about, men knowing yourself on the inside, right?
Yeah.
Or from the inside out, knowing yourself. Just the same example, knowing your car, right? Inside out. Most men, we know when something's wrong with our car, and we drive it every day. We can sense it. And you sensed it
right?
right there, like, wait, this isn't right.
Right? It just takes that little, just one little rattle that's not normal, man. Something's wrong here. Something ain't right. I did it in the summertime. My one of my visors was loose, and I didn't for 2 weeks, man. Me and my kids driving around. I was like, "What is that rattling? What is this? What is? I cannot find it. This is driving me nuts." So me and my kids like cleaned my car insanely, like top to bottom, detailed it like perfectly, and then went to go drive and same rattle just popped up. And my son happened to notice that the visor was rattling just a little bit when we were going over bumps. But that's what it was, man. That little visor was just rattling between the clamp that it was supposed to be in. But for 2 weeks, I'm like, oh man, the car's breaking. Son, I swear something major's coming. This is gonna be a major breakdown. Oh yeah, perspective is everything. Everything, man. So I don't want to share my organization first, but again, the whole show is about these organizations that helping people get on their journeys, and that's why I wanted to start with where my journey has come. But it started with the companies that and the organizations that we're going to talk about today. So, Wayne or Daron, you guys want to share one of the groups or one of the organizations that you guys have found that's making big differences?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get us started off.
Oh, man.
First of all, we are glad that you're okay, Chris, for that. Because that could have easily been a tough situation and
Right.
even a death situation. So,
Thank you,
kudos for
man.
you getting off that highway. So, but yeah, one of the first organizations that comes to mind is Speak Your Mind. We had a guest on Mario Soprano. I don't know if you guys remember him, but that was like towards the beginning of the season, and we had him on, and he talked about his postpartum depression. But his organization is helping men around, the world to connect and, help each other out and, give.
And we do it every week now. So every Wednesday we meet. So anyone, we'll throw a link in the bottom of the description of the video here at the end. And anybody wants to join, man, you're all welcome. We have it's just an open space where we come and just chat about what's going on and how we're dealing with things in life, man. And it's been really, really helpful, especially over the summer here, to just have a consistent friend that's always going to be there to chat with. And that's been really solid for me. So I suggest if you don't have that, go and find it, man, because it's so valuable.
Yeah. And he created the t-shirts, "Are you okay, brother?" So that really resonates with me because, how often do we ask our brothers, "Are we okay?" If we don't know them, like a random stranger, on the street,
Yeah, that
"Are
reminds
you
me. I
okay?"
never got my shirt. I need to go order a shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have some new designs coming up here pretty quick too, man. I'm working on some more in-depth hoodies that are a little bit more gritty, but solid outfits, man. So
Yeah. And then the other organization is Men's Group. So it's basically a bunch of random men coming together because that's needed. And a lot of the men that is part of the Men's Group organization, they come together and they talk about their problems, they share similarities. And I really like that organization because, you know, how often men come together that's random, that they don't know each other from, Adam, to come together and share your, problems. And in that group, you find who you can connect with the most. So I'm really am a big advocate for that group as well too, because, it's not easy to get a bunch of group of men together and, be vulnerable. In the beginning, it's like, who's gonna share their life story first? Like, who's gonna talk about their problems first? It's always that curiosity. Will they make me, how will they make me feel? But in that group, they make each other feel very secure and solid, and like they can talk about anything and whatever's on their mind. So that's a big advocate that I think that's doing very positive vibes for the men's mental health.
Yeah,
Um,
that's great.
Yeah.
And it definitely is hard. I mean, when we first started the show here, it was quite it was it was a learning curve, right? To even open up on the camera and discuss things that are really going on with you. Um, and so I definitely can relate to what you were saying.
Yeah. And then it's a men's um movement basically, and again they do the same thing. They bring men together. They kind of have a meeting to kind of see if you're a good fit to be into the group, and then they onboard you basically to try to just kind of get together for all the different men that wants to be in the group. It's optional. You don't have to be in that men's movement group, but that's another group that I really think that shines a light on just coming and talking and speaking your truth, no matter how terrible your life's been or where you at. You can find other men in the group that share similarities as you. And then of course us.
Those online are those online or like in person or
Um,
in a different
um,
location?
so most of them are online. But I'm pretty sure that the men's group sometimes they meet up and do different things, but for the most part they are online. And you know,
Okay, well let's make sure we put
I'll put all
how we can do it.
I'll put all the links in the description so people know where to find them.
Yeah, I was trying to think how we can do it on TikTok as well. But yeah, I'll figure it out. Yeah, just make sure you have all the info and I'll put it out there too. That'd
Okay.
be great.
And then of course us. I didn't want to address us in the beginning because I didn't want us to seem like we egotistical or we're better than all the other ones. But of course us, we're making a difference. We've been doing this for, almost a year now, coming up. And I've seen so much growth in all of us, from the time that, we first started to the time that, we're almost about to end the season now. And just being more comfortable talking about our issues and, not feeling like we have to hide anything. That's what our show is all about is, just being able to talk about anything that's on your mind and, just share and just vent. That's why we did that episode a couple of episodes ago, men, do you need to vent? Because men have a tendency to hold everything in, and we don't want that. We want you to just let everything out. It's okay to cry, it's okay to be vulnerable. And we're making changes to make sure that men feel comfortable on and off the show. We even have a Discord chat group where we talk to men, let them know, ask them is they okay, if they need anything. So we're making that positive change too in the men's mental health. So that's not forget about us at fourth list. Because we're making changes too. So
Yeah, definitely. You can see the comments, when we get new followers or people comment. It's like, thank you so much for what you guys are doing, and just keep the content coming. We really appreciate it. So, absolutely.
It's amazing to me how many people we've reached in this year that we've been doing this, man. And the feedback that we get from you guys is fucking amazing. Like this why we do it, man. That's why we come back every week. So for all those interactions and all that feedback and all the value that we've added to you guys, man, we're so grateful that we can be here and help you along this journey. It's been fucking incredible, and yeah, love it.
so you have a
Wait,
Wayne
share yours
list?
first, or do you want me to go ahead?
Oh, I'll go. All right.
All right,
So,
man.
mine is kind of is near and dear to me. All right, it's the U.S. military. Um, and I say U.S. because Chris is in Canada. So for those watching from Canada, it's particularly about the changes that the U.S. military is making because suicide and mental health is an issue in the military. Let's just put it bluntly, and they're really making some changes. Last year the U.S. Congress passed a law called the Brandon Act, um, which is about a service member, Navy service member who took his life on an aircraft carrier. Um, and this happens. It's been increasing, and so what the Brandon Act is about is it's really just increasing mental health services and availability to service members. And one way to do that is just to get rid of the stigma that you have to be hard in the military and you have to push through, just suck it up, tough it out, all that. And there's a time and place for that, but it's not everywhere all the time, right? Yeah, if you're getting shot at, right, and you're in the combat zone, and you're getting shot at, and you're fearing for your life every day. As it's hard at that point, right? Because you got the enemy looking right at you. But when you're on a ship and you're doing routine operations, or you're located at a base in the United States, or you're just doing, things like that, like you have a little bit of downtime. Command should be pushing for service members to go get checked out and see mental health providers and just openly discuss the issues they're having. And so one of the things that really impacted me, this doesn't go with the Brandon Act, this is a service member did this in my last command, is that she was the leader of, a team of like 6 of us. And she would openly say, I'm going to go meet my counselor today. I have my mental health, y'all know I got my mental health appointment today. And she kept saying it. At first we're like looking at it, it's like, okay, why is she saying this? But then after some time it clicked, right? And she's giving us that open space and letting know she's removed that stigma for all of us and let it be known that it's okay to go see mental health. And I'll take a guess how many of her team went to go to see mental health. Quite a few after that.
Yeah.
They start making appointments and start going themselves because she set that example, let it know that it's okay. And then we start having open and frank discussions in the office. Sometimes we would close the door and just everybody just talk about the things that are impacting them. And so that's just one particular instance in the military that's happening, but it's being a culture shift, and it has to come from the top down, and it's coming slowly but surely. It's coming, and the Navy implemented a program called SAIL, where it's like, we always have 24-hour crisis lines where service members can call if they're having mental health struggles or things like that. And what SAIL does now is like somebody is tracking this, ensure that the service member has follow-ups, getting the care that they need, and it's not in that specific command or organization, it's outside of there. So it's someone on the outside who's following up with the service member, or like, hey, did you get the help you needed? Do you have the resources available? And that's really impactful.
Wow,
It's
that's an
just started,
incredible
but
service. For sure,
yeah,
that's incredible.
it's going to make a change. It's going to make a change, and the more that we talk about it, the better it's going to be for the military and then for the greater country as a whole. So I'm really happy that in my 20 years, I've seen how it went from tough it up, suck it out, like tough it out, suck it up, right? and and just do what you're told, right? That's how military was when I first came in, and in these 20 years, it's been not a complete shift, not a whole 180, but maybe about 100-degree shift, right? Still got ways to go, but it's making progress, absolutely. And so I would definitely say anybody out there who's thinking about joining the military, or they have preconceptions that it's how it used to be in the World War II area, Vietnam area, where they just yell at you and you're eating mud, and people are abusing you and things like that. The military is not like that now. Not at all. They're investing in their people, and they really want their people to succeed. So anyway, I'll get off my high horse. Chris, I'll let you go.
Man, thanks for sharing that. And I think there's a real kind of underlying thing that all these organizations are doing, and they're normalizing talking about mental health. And that's a big thing that Wayne, you touched point on there, that it only takes one person, right? Just one person to open that field and create that space and to normalize it. Like you said, you watched it go through your whole group there, which was really cool, man, because that's real world, seeing it in effect, that like, oh, okay, it's cool to be to be like aware of your mental health and your emotions, and to be working on that, and it spreads around everybody around you. You may not see it, and that's one thing, Wayne, you can maybe touch base on is, you know, a lot of people might keep it secret for a little while, but once you get on your journey, the only thing you want to do is bring people with you, right? Normalize that and try to meet people where they're at. And that's an important part of this mental health journey. So that's why I want to share the organization I do, CCMF, Canadian Center for Men and Families. For all you guys up here in Canada, it's such a great organization. They have a multitude of programs to help you get into and normalize mental health for yourself. Myself, I started in their Nexus program, which is a domestic abuse recovery program for victims. So I didn't know that I was a victim of abuse. I knew that I was a victim of child abuse, but I didn't know that in my marriage I was a victim of abuse. And this company or this organization really met me where I was at. And believe me, I was in a rough place when I found them. Like, in fact, I was in such a rough place that they rejected me at first because they thought that I was going to negatively impact the group. So I had to work with them, and in a different program, their men's peer support group, and just go in and show them that I was level minded, because I was at such an emotional place when I was trying to sign up for that, and I was still in so much pain that I was really fucking reactive when they were talking to me. So that was why they were like, you know, we want to make sure that we create a safe space for the other guys that are in Nexus. So we want to make sure that you're stable enough not to like talk about things that are going to but bring down the group in a collective sense, right? Like, but the safe space they created for me was so powerful because I was in such a vulnerable place and I needed to be vulnerable in front of other people. And they just created a group where that was comfortable. They taught me so much about abuse and how to recover from that abuse. They taught me about meditation, mindfulness, breathing exercises. Like, I learned so much in a 13-week program that I signed up for it again. And I just kept doing this program that, you know, you're supposed to leave eventually, but I was like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm getting too much value from this. I want to come back. And then after, I think, my second group, they asked me to facilitate and start learning to operate the groups. And that was really cool for me to go from like literally being rejected from the program to being able to guide and lead people in these groups. Was like, it was 100% because of the space that they gave me to heal. And talking with other men and normalizing what I was going through was so real, because I thought that my situation was so unique. And, you know, my wife walking out on me was like the 1% in the entire universe that this had happened to. But after doing that program for as long as I did, I realized that we were all dealing with pretty much the same situation, you know, in different emotional ways, but exactly the same situation, dealing with abuse from a relationship. But now that company, CCMF, they have so much more to offer men. So like, if you're in Canada and you're struggling with your mental health in any way, reach out to them. They have multiple spaces across the country. So I know there's one in Toronto, one in Edmonton, one in Calgary, one in Vancouver, but they also connect with anyone rural along those lines. So if you're like on a fucking farm and can't get your shit together and cannot have a space to heal, and there's a lot of that in Canada, man. There's a lot of open space between these urban areas that men are struggling too. So reach out, because they'll help connect you with someone in some way. There's, like I said, men's peer support groups. There's the Nexus program. There's like one-on-one buddy coaching. They do seminars of like legal proceedings and how to get through tough situations like parental alienation and the court process itself. It's just such a great organization. So anyone who is looking for help, man, please look out for them. Canadian Center for Men and Families, or CCMF. They have a Facebook page and multiple